Hey folks, it's Mike Shea from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. This is a weekly show shot 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Times on Twitch, in which I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday D&D game. In this case, I am running a homebrew campaign called Eberron, the Second Mourning. This show is brought to you, like all of the other activities of Sly Flourish, by the fine backers of Sly Flourish on Patreon. If you can become a patron of Sly Flourish if you go to patreon.com/slyflourish and back it there. Patreon supporters get access to a free D&D adventure. Well, not free, it's part of the Patreon package, but they get access to a D&D adventure that's exclusive to Patreon backers called Regnum Ratus, the Rats in the Cellar. You can get that access to that, and you also get a monthly newsletter in which I talk about all of the various Sly Flourish activities that have been going on and anything else interesting that I think is worth putting in the newsletter. And you help support shows like this. You help pay for the equipment and the bandwidth and all sorts of other costs and the website costs and hosting for the website and things like that. And also help fund things, new activities like the new Sly Flourish newsletter. If you want to get the latest Sly Flourish article directly to your inbox, you can sign up for the Sly Flourish newsletter through that. So thanks to all the backers on Patreon who are helping to support these shows. So yes, this is a homebrew Eberron game that I am running on Sundays now. This is, I think, going to be our fourth session. And yeah, it's interesting. So one thing that's interesting is this is it's a homebrew campaign. And I'm actually not used to running homebrew campaigns. I run published adventures far more often and have for a long time. I certainly have run my share of homebrew campaigns. I think I've got about 3 or 4 that I've done in probably the last few years, shorter ones. And yeah, it's interesting. So this what I find is that the steps from Return, which weren't just based on my own experiences, but based on the experiences of many dozens of DMs that I interviewed and hundreds of DMs that I collaborated with and talked to and thousands of DMs that I surveyed to come up with what steps are most commonly used and how we can refine those down. But certainly you have to stretch the steps more than you normally do in a published adventure. Yesterday, I was on the same show talking about Descent into Avernus, and even with the issues that Descent into Avernus has with plot and story, it's still, in my opinion, easier to... You can skip a lot of the steps from Return when you have a book like that. You can usually skip worrying about what monsters you're going to drop in there. You can often skip what treasure you're worrying about. You can often skip fantastic locations because they're all written in the book. Sometimes NPCs. It's usually good to kind of have some focus on NPCs, but you can cut a lot of the steps out from the 8 steps when you are doing that. Happy Easter. Yes, happy Easter to everybody. And thanks to all who are here this morning. So, yeah, but when you're doing a homebrew adventure and specifically a homebrew campaign, a lot of the steps, I think you kind of have to do all of them, right? Like they're all designed. Well, not, you don't have to go through all of them. You can do whatever you want. I tend to find that I'm going through all of them. And because I don't have anything that's sort of helping me along, I'm sort of making everything up as I go. And I think that's a bit of a psychological leap to make, that to recognize that like we're just pulling stuff out of our ass and we're making a game out of it and suddenly it becomes real, right? That's I think from the surveys I've done, most DMs do it that way. Most DMs have big ideas and big stories in their heads. I tend not to. I'm always kind of happy to modify what I get, but I like having a published adventure that sort of helps me, steers me in the general direction. So I did come up with, an adventure for this. I have an idea. I've started to fill it out more in my head and a little bit in writing, but very little, about like, where is this campaign going, right? So I believe firmly in the idea of focusing on your next game, right? I have a game today at noon. It goes till 3. I want to make sure that noon to 3 period that we have fun. Hey, my mom is here. Hi, Mom. So I want to focus on that, right? I don't really care what's going to happen in the session 6 weeks from now, right? I care about the session that's going to happen today. And is that one going to be fun? And I think it is always worth doing that. But there's still part of you that's like, yeah, but where's it going, right? And the things that I'm going to drop in this next 3-hour game have to lead somewhere, right? I want it to go somewhere. So, I know that I had this like shining star out there of like, I know that eventually they're going to be heading to the Mournland, and they're going to go to the Mournland to help stop probably a number of groups from trying to acquire the power to create a second Mourning, the event that wiped out all of Sire and turned it into the Mournland. Very powerful. Nobody really knows what it was, and I think that the characters are going to go stop it. And I've decided to make my life a little harder by not defining what that is, like what caused it or what will cause it. I'm not paying attention to that. And I don't want to. I kind of want to leave that blank. But I do want to throw some things in the way that are, that you can kind of get the characters there. So like where, step A to step Z, right? What are they going to acquire? And certainly you can look at it and say, well, there are a series of MacGuffins that they can get. And so the first MacGuffin, which they acquired in the last session, was a book called the Book of Making, which is a very old, it's sort of a book that has, it's like a palimpsest of a bunch of different bits of lore that various mages and sages and explorers had drawn together from various places, and most of it coming from Zendrek and coming from the arcane giants of Zendrek that existed a long time ago, back before the god Oram kind of cursed them and said, "You are no longer going to have access to this power." And I think that so it was a temple of Oram that had this book. They went to it was a ruined temple. They went through the ruined temple. They found a bunch of living spells that they avoided, and then fought a bunch of Emerald Claw agents, and then got a hold of the book. And now they have it, and now they have left the Temple of Oram and are returning to their home base. And that's kind of where the last session began. So I'm kind of thinking like, okay, so they have this Book of Making, but like, I don't even know what's in it, right? Like, how does that matter, right? What's the Book of Making? So I have ideas like, well, the Book of Making has this old lore in it. And the theory is like, well, it actually has information in it that could be quite dangerous, that if you put it together with other information, you could, it's possible that lore like that could create something like what happened at the Second Mourning, or did, right? And we don't even know. So, but what are the other parts? So I know that like, I have an idea for another MacGuffin, that this book is actually one of two. And the other book is the book of Kol Sir, the tome of Kol Sir. Kol Sir is the name of the it's almost like a demigod, the titan that had the arcane power in Zendrek, this jungle continent to the south. And the book of Kol Sir and the book of Making together have lots of information that if pieced together could be both very powerful and very devastating. In fact, some of it may have led to the creation of Sharn. Some of it led to the creation of the Warforged, but it also could have created, that these books together and the lore from these books, they're sort of like proofs, right? They're like the, these books, and this, my person should probably start writing some secrets, right? Let's just go right into my notes. Hell, why waste this effort here? I'm going to go right into secrets. I don't think I have secrets anymore. Where are my secrets? Those are NPCs. Somewhere are his secrets. There we go. Secrets and clues. Right? The Tome of Making is two collections of Zendrek arcane lore. The other is a book called the Tome of Kol Sir. Is supposed the tome. This is a little clue. The tome of Kol Sir. I can't spell today. The Tome of Kol Sir is being held in the Forbidden Library of Morgrave University. In fact, the tome is held in Tower 6 of Morgrave in a series of secret underground. It's underground in a tower. Lower levels. No one goes there. So those are like, okay, so those are a couple, but where is this leading? So I have this idea, right, of sort of the larger plot, and I kind of like, we can fall back to our Raiders of the Lost Ark idea here and say that only we'll sort of jump ahead. And I think it fits the noir detective style that in good detective novels, your Chinatowns and your L.A. Confidentials and your good old film noir, your good old film noir sort of detective stuff, the story has often already happened. What's the other one? Copland, right? The story has already happened. The events that you're watching on screen are the results of the story that has already occurred. So, and I think the story that already occurred is that probably, let's see, when would it have occurred compared to the Second Mourning? I think it happened more recently. So within the last couple of years, an expedition went to Zendrek looking for Eberron crystals. These are very powerful crystals that are used in powerful spell casting. And it was a joint it was a joint operation between members of the Aurum who helped fund it, House Kenneth, who is always interested in the world of artificing, probably members of House the Finders Guild and House Thrakish, and who else? They went to Zendrek on this expedition, and they found something. And what they found was a huge chunk of Eberron crystal that weighed like 300 pounds. It was this massive shard, massive Eberron shard. And inside of it was a large disembodied hand that was buried inside of the crystal. And nobody, so they didn't know what it was. And they wrapped it and they packaged it up and they carted it to the shore, and they actually sailed it by sea, not by air. They didn't want anybody to know that they had this thing, and it was safer to travel by sea. When it arrived in Sharn, the crew was mad and turned into like horrible cannibals and stuff like that. That something about the crystal, twisted their minds along this long journey. And it was the crystal was secreted away somewhere in Sharn, and it's still in Sharn now. But somebody is trying to move it out of Sharn and into the Mournland, where they can actually explore this massive crystal. Snark Knight says the dock that it arrived on could be a freaky, fantastic location. Yeah, so that might be a cool place to go. Let's stick that in our fantastic locations, right? The Twisted Dock. And, abandoned dock, ghost ship, and what other fantastic feature could exist here? I need one other cool thing about this dock. It could be either sort of Eberron technical dead magic zone. I kind of like that. Yeah, so I like the Aurum funded an expedition to Zendrek about a year ago. They found something deep in the jungle ruins. The Aurum funded an expedition to Zendrek about a year ago. They found something deep in the jungle ruins. The expedition found a massive shard of Eberron crystal with a disembodied hand within it. They shipped the crystal, the shard, right, back to Sharn. The crew of the ship went mad. This feels very much like the Red Lyrium. Yeah, that it's kind of... I remember that from Dragon Age. It's been a long time since I played Dragon Age. Docks are always underrepresented in map packs. Hard to get good generic map. I happen to know somebody that has a... Oh, hang on a second here. Who happen to has a dock map available. Let's see if I can find that book. Let's see if I happen to have it handy. Oh, look, I do. And we can go down through it. Oh, where was it? I saw it. Hey, look at that, a dock. It's got caves. It's got a warehouse. got all kinds of stuff. This is Sly Flourish's mundane locations, right? This is a location that you can kind of use in general for any sort of dock. Not bad. It'll serve. What an amazing what amazing random happenstance. I bet you that Dyson's got docks too. Not to, I'm very happy with the maps that I've got here, but Dyson also has lots of maps. So that could be an adventure location, and that could be pretty interesting. I think it would be interesting for them to, it could be an interesting, I was thinking today that, am I railroading this campaign too much, right? Am I saying like they're going to go here to here to here to here to here? And I wanted to have some other options of places that they could explore. And I like the idea, and I thank you for these ideas here, that they could go explore the ship itself. Like the ship has been left there, right? It was left and it was abandoned. I got something in my eye. It was left and it was abandoned. So they could, they can leave it, right? They can go and explore it and go actually see this place and what was here. So I think that could be cool. So when I think about sort of like other MacGuffins and other sort of events that are going to take place over this campaign, the discovery of that shard, and I think that the dirty secret is that they're not going to be able, well, I don't know. If the whole point is, I think eventually, before they get a hold of the crystal, it's going to be shipped out to the Mournland. And they'll know it's out there, and sort of chasing this thing is going to be part of the adventure. And I think the minute they start to get close is the minute when, the Aurum, and they're going to meet their villain today. It's filled with spoilers for my own adventure. I think they're going to meet their villain today, and their villain is Lido Skal. Right? Lido Skal is a member. Lido Skal is a gold ring member of the Aurum, and he's having a party, and the characters are invited to his party. They are specifically invited there to deliver the book to him because he was the one who funded the purchase of the book, and they're going to go there. But their patron is going to say, "Yeah, you're going to this party, and a lot of people are going to want to talk to you because they love to talk to working class folk, but you're really there to scope the place, right? We're probably gonna have to steal that book back. It would not surprise me. I don't know what's going on here, but there's a big conspiracy going on, and I think you're gonna have to steal this book back. So scope the place out, find out what you can about this place. Don't get in any trouble, and we'll regroup and see what we can get. So I think that will be, that'll work out. Are there other secrets? So what are the other things? Oh, there is there's a powerful member of the Emerald Claw operating in Sharn called Lord Crash. He was a brutal murderer. So he's, that's sort of another main villain. Emerald Claw, I'll tell you. So there's two, and I was just reading some Eberron, reading some of the book, and there's a couple of, I got my copy right here, and a couple interesting things. Like it always helps, I think. I always joke that like these adventures are less, like intricate Chinatown and more like Walker Texas Ranger. If you sort of combine the fact that the players are in trouble about half the time, the players aren't understanding what's going on in the game about half the time, you really need to sort of boil things down. And it's not that they're dumb, it's that communication is hard, right? And we all have different images of what's going on in the story in our head. And so I think that it always helps to have like your Walker Texas Ranger style adventure in your head, which is, every 7 minutes, you need to see Chuck Norris roundhouse kick someone in the face, right? Or you're missing out on your Walker Texas Ranger. So, when you need to have every 7 minutes someone get roundhouse kicked in the face, I think it was Walker Texas Ranger, an hour-long show. Yeah, it's probably more like every 12 minutes he needs to roundhouse kick someone in the face. He needs a lot of people around that are worthy of getting roundhouse kicked in the face. So who are our roundhouse kick in the face people? And we can kind of have two. Droam, which is a group of powerful monsters that are operating in Sharn, and Emerald Claw, right? So these are two great factions. Like, you always want to have, what they say, like in Sin City, they said, like, I always love fighting hitmen because you never feel bad no matter how bad you treat them, right? It's like Nazis, right? Like, no, you can never do wrong to Nazis. So Emerald Claw and Droam can both fill that role. Droam, I think, and you can make them more intricate. You can give them sort of more interesting things. And I already have ideas so Droam is the big like monster faction that exists inside Sharn in a nutshell. And the thing about Droam is they could have actually multiple members that are fighting for leadership. So you could sort of realize that there's a split of faction going on inside Droam, and half of Droam might end up allying with the characters in order to fight the other half. And the example would be that I think in my version of events going on here, that Leto Skal, who is a Oram Gold Ring member, he's also actually a member of the Shadow Council of Oram, is also he's like second in command of Droam here. And I think that the head of the Shadow Council of Oram knows it and doesn't care, right? I remember he's like Bert Cooper in Mad Men, right? Where if the characters go to this head member of the Shadow Council, I don't know how this will work out, but let's say they do, and they're like, your second in command is an Oni, and he's actually second in command of Droam, and he'd be like, who cares, right? Like, really, who cares? Like, we're getting what we want. Why would you, so what, right? I think that would be kind of a fun twist, that Oram doesn't care that their second in command is also second in command of Droam. So, you can have fun. You can have fun stuff like that. That of course assumes that the players will be able to navigate through the factions and actually meet the head of the Oram. But it's always one to keep in the back of your head. So what else? What other secrets? So again, okay. So that's a big idea. I don't know where it's all going to head. So, this is where you think in fronts, right? Instead of thinking in plot, you think in fronts. So what is the Oram what does Leto Skal want to do? Well, Leto Skal actually is second in command of Droam, and he wants to bring the shard, or whatever the shard can unlock. He wants to bring it into the Mournland to unlock its power, and he wants to give that power to the Dask, to the monster nation of Dask. He wants to bring them, chaos is power. Chaos is a ladder, as I don't know, whatever that dumb TV show was. And he wants to do that. So, but he needs like the shard isn't enough, right? Like how to use the shard, how to unlock the shard, where to bring the shard. There's lots of questions around that thing. So even though he has it, he doesn't have all the stuff around it. He's also, there's also this, like the Emerald Claws causing these problems. He wants to deal with them too. So there's a lot of issues. So, so he's not your problem. Says he wants to bring the artifact into the Mournland without the knowledge or blessing of House Kenneth. Right. And House Kenneth is also, like, they're members of House Kenneth. House Kenneth probably is going to play a smaller role in this adventure. House Kenneth is actually the group patron in my Wednesday game. But in this one, they're probably going to have a smaller role. So I think they might come in from time to time. They might meet people from House Kenneth who are, can always kind of share information about what's going on. But I don't think they're going to be a main player. Yeah, so he's got it. Now he doesn't want to move it. And he has it in I guess this is a secret, right? That has a shard locked up in a vault in the bottom of his manor. The shard is there now, and it's protected, and it's wrapped with like the equivalent of a Faraday cage to make sure it doesn't go mad. But if you got too close, you could feel that, wow, there's something behind that door, but there's no way in. It's not for level 3 characters, right? You're not breaking into that thing. Because it's a vault that he spent probably 15,000, 20,000 gold on. So he has the shard, but he can't unlock it. So we know that there's the 2 books. When we think about like major sort of drivers. In Numenera, and Monty Cook Games has started calling these things keys. And I wrote about this on Sly Flourish. There's an article somewhere. Let's see if we can find Numenera keys. Adventure keys, right? So adventure keys, here's this article about it. The idea behind adventure keys, and so in adventure keys, it's actually about the keys that exist inside of an existing adventure. But you can also take this concept of keys, and they're, MacGuffins, a lot of times adventure MacGuffins, is a common term. They are the objects, often a physical object, but it could be not a physical. It could be lore. It could be information. It could be a person, right? It's the thing that the characters seek out and need to seek out in order for the story to move forward. And often they're a physical objective, but it could be a key that isn't physical. It could be something that you learn. It could be one of the secrets and clues. Often it's a secret and clue, right? So, here's a bunch of example keys. Vast black door barring entry into the realm of the night serpent. Soul coin containing the tormented soul of a long dead sage. These are things you would need to acquire, right? Code word required to enter the hideout of the Weeping Blade Assassin's Guild. Portal key to enter the Doom Vaults. A key could be the secret origin of Leto Skal. Like who the hell is Leto Skal, right? And who knows who Leto Skal is the head of the Drum. I don't know if that's a great secret, because I don't know how the characters would ever figure that out. It's better to say Leto Skal is not liked by the Droam, by the head of the Droam. So you can think. Often I was thinking about these keys in the sense of a single adventure. That like what keys does a character need? And it's sort of like the Tome of Making, right? There's this book called the Tome of Making. It's inside the Temple of Aurum. You have to go through the temple. Oh, by the way, there's a bunch of Emerald Claw jackasses that are trying to get it as well. So that's certainly a way to go. But then what are the bigger keys? Well, okay, so the shard, the shard is a key. I know that there was a map. One of the other things I was going to throw in here is a map. That there's a map to a House Kenneth laboratory inside the Mournland, which people believe is where the weapon of mourning was made. And that is probably, Leto Skal is trying to find that place as well. And perhaps he doesn't have the map now, but perhaps he's in the process of getting it. And maybe the Emerald Claw also has a copy of this map. Right, so you have these keys, and these are all things that eventually the characters are going to have to find. Now, some of the principles of this that are worth keeping in mind is that you don't want to have only one series of keys, and you have to have them all. And if you have any less than all of them, you're out of luck. And the reason why, and this is something I discovered when I was running some 4th edition games, and I was kind of moving these MacGuffins around. And I did it in a Dark Sun campaign I ran, which was, I don't remember, I think they were trying to resurrect the god Kalik, right? I think the main drive was that priests of Kalik. Kalik was a sorcerer king in Dark Sun, and somebody was trying to resurrect. It was a pretty good adventure, if I do say so myself. Priests of Kalik were trying to resurrect him, and they needed a bunch of artifacts to do so, but they only needed some number of them to be able to do it, and the characters would have to hunt down some artifacts and try to stop the bad guys from doing it. And it would set them back if they couldn't get them, but it wouldn't stop them. So they still had to stop them. And it sort of put them on these different trees where if they got all of them, they'd resurrect Kalik and he'd be full power right away. If they only had so many of them, then Kalik would be resurrected, but he'd take longer to bring back. And that way, like if you got enough of them, you could, Kalik would return, but he would return much weaker than he normally would. And then you could, then you could fight him and beat him. I did the same thing, I think, with Tyranny of Dragons when I ran Rise of Tiamat, that they needed the dragon masks. The 5 dragon masks were required in order to bring Tiamat back. But the characters were slowly getting the dragon masks. Well, it turned out that that the dragon masks would do it, but what would also do it are these things called the chains? There was a name, the anchors. And the anchors were 3 ancient dragons that were willing to sacrifice themselves to draw Tiamat up. And, it's way better to have 5 dragon masks than it is to have 3 ancient dragons kill themselves in order to bring Tiamat back. But because the characters got the masks, the Cult of the Dragon was required to do that. So, and then the characters had to defeat the 3 dragons, so that Tiamat's rise wouldn't happen as quickly or something like that. And then she was still able to claw her way out, but she wasn't nearly as powerful as she would have been if the 3 anchors were there. So you're always like, it's an analog gauge, right? Not a binary system. And because there's a binary system, then they get all the things and that doesn't happen, right? You still want them to get to the conclusion. So the idea is like, whatever items they acquire during this will change the plot of the group that's trying to make the weapon for the Second Mourning. But you're still going to have the weapon, right? It's still going to happen. It's just they might have to go to a different source for it. They might have to find a different way. They might have to tap into something else. So I think that's something that I'm always trying to keep in mind when you're building out these longer term adventures with all of these different sort of keys in them. Yeah, so that's one issue. These are all the complicated problems you get when you make your own adventure. It's like, this is why adventure writers make money. It's because they figure all this stuff out and then we just follow their lead. So I think, do I have enough? So what do we want to do? We want to introduce, so if we think about our fronts, we know we have the Emerald Claw as a front, the Aurum as a front, and the Droam as a front. My fronts have changed, by the way. I was going to have the Lord of Blades as a big one, and maybe the Lord of Blades will come back into it, but right now, I don't think I'm going to worry about it. And instead, I think we've already got Droam, we've already got Emerald Claw, and we've already got Aurum. And I think that those are good, good fronts, and they're all working towards trying to get the weapon. I think that makes sense. I think a fun one. So Shift is a warlock. So I've skipped over a few steps. We got to go up. Let's go. I was dumped right into the secrets, but let's talk about our characters today. So the characters we have today, so they are all members of the Finders Guild. So their sponsor is House Thrakish. In particular, their NPC is Doris de Thrakish, the Seeker. And she is a Thrask, I think it's I can never pronounce it right. So she's the one that kind of sent them on the job, and the job was go recover the book, and they recovered the book, and now she's like, okay, we give it to the guy who paid us, and the guy who paid us is this Leto Skal of the Aurum, Gold Ring member of the Aurum. So we're gonna go, and he invited us to a party to kind of reveal the book, and we're gonna go there. So the characters are Arwen Chi Zizu, played by Jerry, a scribing gnome artificer. Father was a famous hero, and has a dodecahedron from her father. That says when you're smart enough to open it, you'll be able to open it. And has a House Civis latent dragon mark. We have Shift, a Warforged warlock, Pact of the Undying, human experiment of life, and extension expansion. One of the original Warforged that was actually made from a human and then with parts that were replaced. The people from House Kenneth who built her don't know why she's alive, but her patron does. We have Saber, a long-tooth shifter monk and bounty hunter. No real backstory. I keep meaning to talk to him about his backstory, but he's just happy to play. Shane Husk, played by Jay, a hobgoblin wizard. This is the crime novelist. He wrote a book about the First Mourning, and he's hoping to be around to kind of retell a new book that will do as well for him. He's sort of a hack novelist. We have Banner, a Warforged paladin of the Becoming God, who was actually a member of the Blades Sextet, the Lord of Blades. Blade Sextet is another friend of mine's campaign. The member of the Lord of Blades, and he was part of that, but then he saw the cruelty that they had, so he left, and now he's here. We have Zarantir de Leander, who was a Mark of Storm half-elf, and Wandslinger, who now possesses a wand of magic missiles. I should put magic on him. So he heard a warship, or he hurt an airship, and the family said, we need you to go away for a little while. Why don't you go join the Finders Guild and hang out with them for a while and learn something, then come back later. So that is where he is. So that is our group. So our strong start. This is a hard one. Probably an event is better than anything else. And we may go to the Eberron event. So they're in the middle ward. They've returned. I think part of it is going to be their new headquarters, right? We have a new place for them to stay, and I think we want to figure out what their home base is like. So I'm going to talk to them about that today. But I still want to throw a, let's see, let's go to our books here. I still want to throw an event at them. So it's come up, I've had people ask that are like, hey, what are some non-combat strong starts? And I think that's an important point. Like I like starting with combat. I think it wakes everybody up. But there's certainly, let's see, the Adventures in Sharn, right? And it has a list of events that take place. These are potential home bases. Lower Sharn events. Minotaur, there's a lot of these. Dwarf punches a goblin. Human never gets too close. Loaves of bread. Riding on a giant spider. Ogre eating rats. Harpies. They have lower and upper. Do they have middle? They have Skyway. I don't see middle. I guess they don't have middle ones. That's a bummer. It's kind of like you either get the... So what, is there anything, like the characters haven't done anything yet. They could be, so it could, if we want to go dark, you could have one of the followers of Set comes to there. If we want to throw like a whole other plot line, one of the things is they met a fallen angel of Set. And that would be interesting. I could also, so I have one of my players, Brian, is interested in, so there was another temple that they found down in Fallen. And he was very interested in exploring that temple. And there might be some fun thing to do there. Somebody could kind of let him know that, hey, I saw that you were at the temple. There's actually another way in. But I don't know. It kind of steers us away from what's going on. Could Droam do anything? So Droam could they could get an invitation to Droam. To meet the Droam down in the Cogs. That would be interesting. I don't know. Strong starts. The whole Temple to Set thing. The problem is it doesn't really have any connection to anything else. Although it's possible that you could have this Dark Prophet who can actually kind of give them information. Can kind of see things, and they could go visit him. They could learn from this dark fallen angel. And I don't know what the fallen angel would want in return exactly. Maybe the shard would be enough to restore them to their, former divine glory. Giant empty street door suddenly materialized in a nearby building that showed no entrances. Faded graffiti. Just trying to... Four orcs jab at an ochre jelly with long staffs trying to herd the ooze into the sewers. Syrian refugees are gathered in a circle singing in a haunting song. The last war was not the last. As long as the monarchy rules in Breland, another war is inevitable. Rise up. That's not bad. Is there any... what... so I know, and I kind of don't mind starting with a little bit of a downtime. And I don't know if we want to, so we could have the Boromir gang. So we could have some Boromir guys show up. If we do want, again, if we want to go in a fight, Walker Texas Ranger style, you could have some Boromir thugs say, "Hey, we heard you got something down there. We saw you down in the morning, and it looked like you got something, and we think that'd be great. So why don't we'll buy it from you, 50 gold pieces." And he goes, "Well, I guess we're gonna have to take it anyway." And then they get in a big fight. That's not terrible. Again, because I don't know that they're gonna have many fights today. So I know I said no fight. I know I said no, something other than a fight. But boy, so I'll tell you what else I'm thinking, because it's 19 minutes to the end of the show, and I haven't gotten into what today's adventure is actually about. So, defining the home base, Boromir thugs, invitation to the gala, the invitation to the gala of Leto Skal, dressing up, and what's her name's orders. Oh God, I just thought I closed my window. Doris's so her orders. Hey, we're probably gonna have to go back in here. Killing Boromir thugs probably isn't a good strategy. Maybe not, but you never know. There's a wild animal in their new home base. So the thing about the Boromir is they're probably not going to just keep. I think this is like not a Hail Mary, but they probably sent their worst guys and hey, go see if you can get that thing. If the guys get killed, they're it sucks. But it's not one of these are it was the brother or somebody. Maybe it ties in a little Boromir thing. I don't know. It's probably a lower branch of the Boromir coming in. They're trying to make their way. They're trying to climb the ranks. Combat with the possibility of recruitment. Yeah, it could go through role playing. It could go through a number of ways. It'll probably be a thug, a thug per character. Thugs are kind of tough though, man. With pack tactics and double attacks and everything, thugs are really hard. So we'll probably do a couple of thugs and a bunch of bandits. Usually works better. So then the gala, right? And they'll probably learn a couple of things. They'll learn about Morgrave, and they'll learn about the boat, right? Morgrave Tower 6, and we need a name for the boat. I think that we can go to... let's capitalize off of our Ghost of Saltmarsh. Pretty sure they have boat names. Here in Appendix A. Names. Ship name. What have we got? I need a 2D20. Let's see. I'll drop it in my Discord channel here. And my bot test. I have 11 and 6. Let's take a look at that. Whoops. 11 is the Intrepid Gem. Yeah, sure, right? Is there any other? The Intrepid Brawler, the Intrepid Devil, the Intrepid Dragon? Yeah. The Grinning Dragon. Misty Dragon. Dawn's Revenge. I know, I like bother to roll. So that's an area. Is there a third interesting place they could explore? If I wanted to fork this out and say, after they go to the gala and they learn a bunch of stuff, what is a third location that they could go to? I think I'd like to, figure out how to have them go down into the cogs. That they learn that there's an informant of the Droam who has information for them, and he's hiding down in the cogs. Informant to the drum hiding in the cogs. So the third place they could go is, well, we could talk to this person down in the cog. Seems to know some stuff. But the drum work down there, and they're not going to be happy. So that could be fun. How would they find out about this informant? That could be the strong start, right? Is they get a message. Who would deliver them a message? Somebody from... So what it actually is the head of the Droam. Probably after the gala. So this is probably... Yeah, I think we'll save this for next time. I don't think we're going to worry about this right now. But somebody... Once they learn about the gala, spies of Droam will know that the characters are involved with Leto Skal. And they want to tell the characters about Leto Skal. The leader does. But she also doesn't want to... like half of the Droam like Leto. So she needs to be very careful. So she sends one of her trusted agents to let the characters know, hey, come down to the cogs. By the way, it's going to be hostile. But if you kill us, we don't care. Just don't kill me. And I'll tell you about Leto Skal. Like we're always recycling monsters down here anyway. And then that could be a kind of a future way to go. So for a 3-hour game, I need about 6 clear scenes. So I have the defining the home base, Boromir thugs, the invitation to the Bala and getting dressed up. That's kind of, that's all sort of 1. So that's 3. The gala itself is 4, but that's probably going to be a few scenes at the gala. So I think that's enough right there. That's going to easily cover what we run today. And I think it will give, I think it'll give a lot that's going on. I got my secrets and clues. I think I'm good on that. Fantastic location. So we have the Orem Manor. Let's take a look at the map of Seven Spires. This is a map I was using before. Yeah, so it's got 3 layers to it, right? And I like that, but I thought there was another... I need a vault underneath. I guess, so the vault I could use was, I think that this was one. Yeah, I like this one. I think this will work as a good, well, where was the vault? The vault could be here, I guess, or these could be 3 vault doors and they don't know what's behind any of the 3. I was going to use this for for the Margrave, the university, Margrave University. But I think that this might be cool for, that they could kind of explore down here. And there's a lot of locked doors and a lot of things. And that it's that one door to the west is the vault door. And that's where the crystal is being kept. It might be cool, though. Let's look at other Dyson maps. Because it could be cool... that the map has multiple exits, right? So there's a sort of a cellar underneath 7 towers. And it has a way out, right? So like, what if we used this one almost? Although this has got a lot going on. That's probably too much. Where basically, he's got to have a way to bring the crystal in and out of his vault. So he probably has secret entrances and exits to his vault down in, down underneath. So it would be sort of a museum-y area, but then also has these other exits. I suppose that I could just sort of add a couple maps together. I don't need one map that covers all this. Some of these are just huge. Look at the Chambers of the Emson City. That thing's massive. This one's not bad. Central stairwell. I don't know where the vault would be. I love just perusing Dyson maps. But I think we'll go with what about this one? This is kind of cool. How did I get to this one? Beneath the marching tankard. Does someone have a good vault? This is like these other exits, which I kind of dig. Let's take a bigger look at this. I don't like the rest of it though. I like this part. I like that it's got a secret exit, but I think we'll just steal that and add it to the. Oh, I know. I think that's the most recent one he did. I think we'll steal the other one that I liked. That's this guy. Yeah, this guy. And so this section over here on the left is where, well, maybe he has something trapped down here. Like this could be an area. Look, there's a big chain on the wall and stuff like that. That would be kind of cool. And maybe someone's down here. That'd be a role play opportunity. Who would Lido Skal have trapped? I don't know. And maybe he's got 2 vaults, right? And then I would say that probably in this room in the north would be a secret door, a trapped and locked secret door that leads to a long series of tunnels that can get out of the manor and leads to like elevators, secret shafts and elevators that can take stuff down to the lower districts. I think that could be cool. Yeah, so that's going to be our to today's. We have 7 spires and we have this guy. Where's my 7 spires map? Yeah, not going on with 7 spires. I thought he had an undercroft for this. That's a thread. I guess it was that one, but I thought he had another one that had a cellar to it. But I don't know. So that will cover. Let's see. Those are my 2 maps for today. And then I've got my docs if I need them. And oh yeah, so character bases. We're gonna look at a couple layouts. Like this could be one of their places. I thought that might be pretty cool. This is one I use for my other group, which I think works well. A general workshop. I don't know about this one. Oh yeah, this is sort of a manor. That's kind of cool. So I think I will offer them the 3 of those. So today is going to be a little bit of like, kind of building up their own home base. And we'll say like, what are the 3 layouts that, what does the base look like? Is it, one of these 3? I think that'll work pretty well. So NPCs, I think I had, the Gabriel Northwell, right? So a lot of these Murdo can go to the bottom of the list. I added in here, a couple of these I added in as people that they'll be able to meet at the party itself. And a lot of NPCs I'll just sort of create on the spot. I don't think that they will have any treasure. And monsters, where's my monsters? So who would, I think that Lido Skal, he probably has monsters that lurk in his cellars, right? Maybe a hellhound. That'd be pretty great. Animated armors and flying swords. Carpet of smothering. Those all seem reasonable. He also has veterans that work for him. He hired them. These are House Deneath that he hired for the gala. And then I've got my good old assortment of thugs and bandits. I love me some thugs and bandits. They're almost as great as cultists. So I think that works pretty well. Um, is there anything else like when I'm running the gala? I think I think I can improvise a lot of what's going on at the gala. It's a really nice event. They're serving fine ales from all sorts of different places. There's some we can hit up. Let's see if we want sort of fancy things going on here. Let's go to our source books and Eberron Rise and Last War. In Sharn, where's the Sharn chapter? So it has these nice tables that kind of say the most interesting things that are going on. Falling in Sharn, yeah. Could always have an event like this go on. Oh, here's some good counselors. So one of the counselors could be there. Which one of these counselors? I'll pick one. Let's see. I'll grab the first one. Elder statesman, brilliant orator, rumored to be involved in a web of bribery and graft. Soric Sensos, who is one of the Shaun counselors, and he is at this gala, so we will throw him in the NPCs. That'll be fun. Oops, I didn't mean to jump out of that. And so here's the whole section about the wards. And here are some, let's see, Central Plateau. There are some, I'll probably have to read through this after, before my game. But generally there's like really fine, so it'd be kind of cool to say like, which is the Memphis? I'm looking for like fine drinks that could be served here from particular places. Like, oh, we got this from so-and-so. Is it North Edge? Residential. Tavik's Landing. Yeah, I gotta find like fancy drinks. Fancy drinks and minstrels, and I'll dig them up. So that's a couple things I'd like to throw in here. Are what are some interesting drinks they could get from different places, and who they have some minstrels that are played, and this is an opportunity to kind of dig into this. And I know it's here, Dragon Eyes range of lodging food. There was something about like it's the only place where you can get a certain drink. Whoops, wrong one. Wine. Here we go. Sanids. Where can I put this stuff? I don't have a place for it in my notes. Little notes. Put it under fantastic location. And minstrels, right? I'll figure out fancy minstrels from the upper wards. So yeah, I'm sure that was fun watching me read tables. So I think I've got enough. Like it's a little tricky because like it's way easier to just run a dungeon where they crawl through a dungeon and fight stuff. And there'll be plenty of that. But I thought it would be kind of fun to also just sort of meet their villain face to face. They may even recognize, hey, this guy's a villain. And then sort of case the drink because they're probably going to have to come back to this manor at another time. And they're probably going to have to crack it open. So I think that will be fun. What's my strong start? Home base, Boromir gang tries to take the book. I think it'd be good. Like nobody minds a fight. Everybody likes to see what their characters can do. They just got to 3rd level, so them being able to unleash a bunch of 3rd level stuff, I think will work well. It'll introduce the Boromir clan, and yeah, I think it can work out. So yeah, I am all set. Pretty much, here and there. How do I feel? I'm probably, how confident do I feel about this game? I'd give myself like a 6 out of 10. I'm not super confident. I'm way more confident in my games when I know that, like, hey, we're starting in a dungeon and we know we're going to finish the end of the dungeon. I always like those because they're easy. This one, it's like, well, I don't know. We're going to have some downtime and we're going to have like NPC interaction, and it's always kind of loosey goosey, and I never feel as comfortable. But I feel I'm all right. I'm sure it'll be okay. Everyone's there to have a good time. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming into Twitch chat. I've been ignoring Twitch chat. Let me take a look at Twitch chat recently. Party can be charmed by phone to House Valarin Quartet. There we go. Thank you, Snark Knight. See, I should be reading my chat. Thank you for that. Where did I stick the other one? I think I did it under Fantastic Locations. House Valarin Quartet. Yeah, anyway, so I think we are all set, and it is 11 o'clock, so I'm going to call it a day. Thanks to everybody for coming in the chat, and I will see all of you guys next Sunday for another one of these shows. And thank you all once again. Have a great week, and get out there and play some D&D.